Oh,
Hi.
okay.
Yeah, this is Jen from BritMums, and we are here today on Hangout with Guy Kawasaki and Peg from Canva, along with several other bloggers and influencers, and we are talking about how to build your social following, basically how to be massive. And we've got some great tricks and tips, and let's get started.
All right.
So we'll start off and we'll go to our very special guest, Guy Kawasaki, joining us from the West Coast. Guy, welcome.
Hi. Good evening.
Hi. So why don't you start us off and share your wisdom with us? And
Okay.
I hear you have a PowerPoint to share with us today.
Yes. So I'm the person whose desktop you're seeing as opposed to face. So I'll introduce myself. First, I'm Guy Kawasaki. I am the chief evangelist of a company called Canva, Sydney-based company that has an online graphics tool that's fast, free, and easy to use. And with me is Peg Fitzpatrick. I'm on the West Coast. She's on the East Coast. She's in the social media capital of the United States, Keene, New Hampshire. So, Peggy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Guy just kind of introduced me, but my name is Peg. I work with Canva as well. I'm a writer and a blogger, and that's about it.
All right. All
And a
right.
mom. Since we're on BritMums, I'm also a mom.
Should we let everybody introduce themselves, or should we just take it away?
Oh, sorry. Why don't you take it away, and then everyone's going to have a comment or question, and they
Okay.
can announce themselves as they do that.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the abbreviated version, cutting to the chase. You know, no fluff, all good stuff. A presentation about how to get more followers. First, I'd like to establish my credibility, just in case. I have, I think, about 9 million followers right now, and I am not a Twitter suggested user. So, most of the followers I got are on Google Plus, where I am a suggested user. But my Twitter following of about 1.5 million, my LinkedIn following, I'm an influencer there, influencer. Uh, I'm trying to build this case that it's not because I'm Britney Spears or Kim Kardashian. I got this the hard way, which is earning people's viewership and eyeballs. And so Peg and I are constantly trying to provide value. And in order to make social media a useful marketing platform, honestly, I'm not using social media to meet people and make more friends. I have 4 children, 2 dogs, about 10 fish, 1 chicken. I'm thinking now 4 guinea pigs and 1 rabbit.
The
So the
chickens
point
are
is,
starting to dwindle.
yeah, well, so well, the hawks are getting fatter and the chickens are getting less here.
uh,
Um, so anyway, I'm just telling you all this to give you some kind of background on me and why I do what I do. So now I'll just fly into this, my recommendations for how to get more followers. And the starting point is that I think the most important philosophical perspective on social media is that whatever you post has to pass what I call the reshare test. And the reshare test works like this. Are you posting things that are so good that the people who get it, the first generation, will reshare it to their followers? Because I think that is the most sincere form of flattery. And the reason why it's the most sincere form of flattery is when somebody reshares what you've done, essentially they are putting their reputation on the line with your post. Another analogy I like to use is, if a valet delivers your car, you tip the person, £1 or €1 or $1. But it's not exactly a really engaged, close relationship. It's kind of just accepted. You give them $1, right? And so that's kind of like plus oneing a person or giving a person a like or something like that. But if you reshare, it's like you went to a restaurant and you liked the restaurant so much you went and screamed at the top of your lungs to everybody you should eat at this restaurant. And so I think that that's the goal, that people are screaming at the top of their lungs that you should read this post that someone else made. And the impact of a reshare, a good reshare, is something like this. This is the effect of one post. I'm at the center there, so that's the post that I made. And this thing then spreads out. The bigger the circle, the more followers that person has. So when Brian Guest picked it up and Faoud Al-Farhan and James Wickenden picked it up, that's where it sort of got even bigger. So this is kind of the point that I posted one thing, 46 people reshared it publicly, another 30 people shared it privately with other people. So this is like basically 76 people told someone to go eat at the restaurant that they just ate at. And this to me is the biggest test. You should have this in the back of your mind every time you click on the button that shares a post. Am I sharing something that people will reshare? So that's recommendation number 1. Recommendation number 2 is that you are, shall I say, valuable, that your posts are useful, that they have information or analysis or assistance or entertainment. It should be one of those 4 things. Obviously, some of the selfies and some of the, this is my new car, this is my new laptop, this is my new phone. I understand that. They're not necessarily in any of these 4 categories. But generally speaking, you want to be valuable. You want to be someone that is worth following. And the model I like to use to explain in America anyway, and probably the equivalent is the BBC, it seems to me that the NPR, or National Public Radio in America, they're providing great content 365 days a year. They provide such great content that every once in a while they run a pledge drive, a telethon. And during this pledge drive, they're interrupting the normal programming and they're asking people to donate money. I think NPR is the only organization that can get away with this because they are so valuable. So people not only tolerate the pledge drive, they even participate in the pledge drive. And so my thought here is that you should think like NPR, or in your case BBC, and you should always be thinking, how can I add value to people's lives so that they will reshare me, so that they will follow me, so that they will tell other people to follow me, all this good stuff. The key is to be valuable. Here's an example of, a post that we consider valuable. So this is a post, a complete guide to PR. So someone wrote up this post who worked for Canva, and it was an examination of the best ways to use PR. So here we're not talking about graphic design. We're not talking about something that's central to Canva's product services, because we don't offer any PR things. We are a graphics tool, but we think that people who follow us will find this valuable, and so that they will tell other people to read this, and then those people will notice we have great value, and then they will follow us, and then more people will follow us, and then one day you wake up and you have 9 million followers. So that's kind of the plan. So be valuable. The next thing is that people should schedule and spread out their posts. It should not be done manually anymore. You need to optimize the time and the frequency of your posts so that you both don't burden your followers with too much stuff in a burst, and also you make sure that your followers are up. So obviously we're about 7 or 8 hours apart, and yet if I discover something that is at, let's say I'm up at midnight and you're at 7 a.m., should I post right then? My followers are primarily U.S. West Coast. So U.S. West Coast, at midnight, everybody's asleep. Not the best time for me to post. Good for the UK, but not good for my followers. So what I do is I schedule these posts so they start at about 7 a.m. Pacific time, and they go out through the day, roughly every hour. I don't want to send out a bunch of posts at once, because I think people will tune out if they see a bunch of posts from one person. So I use a tool called Buffer, and this is an example of my schedule. For Google+, I am posting 6 times every weekday starting at 7 a.m. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 4. And so this is a tool. There are other tools like Hootsuite and Sprout Social. Facebook, you can individually, manually schedule a post, but the reason why I use something like Buffer is that I can write something once and I can post it to 5 different services: Google Plus, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. 4, excuse me. So this is, tremendous advantage. I don't have to post something 4 times or schedule something 4 times. I do it once, and it goes to all these services. So this is a power tip for you. Use something like Buffer or Sprout Social or Hootsuite. The next tip I have for you is to keep calm and post often. Many people who consider themselves social media experts are always saying that you need to do this manually. You should do it only once. You should, it should be like absolute rifle shots, high quality, blah blah blah. And I just completely and totally and utterly disagree. My observation is that I can post the same thing 4 times, 8 hours apart. And when I post the same thing 4 times, 8 hours apart, and I use a different link in each one to see who clicks through to the source, I get 4 to 5 times more click-throughs. So it's kind of, this is an IQ test. Would you rather get 2,000 click-throughs posting it once, or 8,000 click-throughs posting it 4 times? And I post 4 times. Some people complain. My God, Guy, I saw this post 4 times already. I saw this post 3 times already. And I have to tell you that I am willing to deal with that, because for every person like that, there's probably 10,000 people who would have never seen it if I didn't post it at the time that it was convenient for them. They happen to be up, and even if you know all your readers are on California time, some people read the computer in the morning, some people read the computer in the evening. So it's not as clear as, well, everybody's up at 7 a.m. reading their news feeds. So that's why I keep calm and post often. And I actually, if you may find this hard to believe, this is an example, a rather stunning example. So one day I was in Toronto in August, and I saw this really cool matte black Audi R8. And I just love cars. So I posted this on August 28th, and the first time you see it got 232 pluses and 13 reshares and 33 comments. And then in these comments, lots of people said, well, you made it black and white on purpose to show that it's a matte black car. Why don't you show what it was like in color? And so a few minutes later, I posted it in color, and notice that I got 289 plus ones, 25 more reshares, and 31 comments. Now, according to most people's advice, most experts' advice, you should never do something like this. This is basically identical posts back to back within half an hour. Most experts will tell you that this is insane, that people will unfollow you, uncircle you, they'll blow you off, they'll get rid of you, they'll be pissed off, all of the above. And I tell you something, it's just not true. It's just not true. Most people will not even notice that you posted something twice in half an hour. So Peg and I have also done experiments where, as I said, we post the same thing 4 times, 8 hours apart with different links, and we get 4 times the volume. So keep calm and post often if you want to get more followers.
The 4 times posting is on Twitter.
Yes.
We're not
True.
recommending that you post the same thing 4 times on Google Plus and 4 times on Facebook and 4 times on LinkedIn. Twitter, because things are, within like 20 minutes to a half hour, a tweet is literally like gone on the web. So Twitter, you can do that. Google Plus and Facebook, I think you can repeat important content at a greater distance than a half hour apart. But that was a good example of how it's still even we've had things accidentally post twice, and it still was fine.
Okay, good point, Peg.
Yeah.
And this is my last slide, the last recommendation about adding drama. And my dog just tried to escape from my house here. He sees a squirrel, and the squirrel is going to attack our house, so he's defending me right now. So this is the last recommendation, that you need to add drama to get more followers, and there's no one better to explain drama than Peg Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. So by adding drama, we mean to have a graphic. There's different ways of having a graphic appear on your post. Sometimes it is in the form of your embedded blog post if you're a blogger. So you do want to make sure that every blog post that you create does have a graphic so people can pin it, or it could be the image that pulls in automatically on Facebook or Google Plus if somebody embeds it. So being careful, on your blog is the first great thing for bloggers to do to make sure that you get a good image that pulls in. And aside from that, if a post doesn't have a good image, we will create our own image in Canva, or so our posts have a great image. And on Twitter, we've had great results with creating images and tweeting them, attaching the image on Twitter natively or in Buffer or Sprout Social, and they get a lot more interactions. We recently spoke at a conference in Boston called Inbound, and I tweeted graphics from Canva that I created at the conference, really quick, a quick little quote, and they got hundreds of retweets and favorites. So adding images really gives you the impact that you want. And you can go, like I said, you can go about that in different ways. If you're a blogger, you're kind of controlling the message. Give people a great image with your little branding on there, and then people will know to check back for your blog for other great content. And I'm also a big fan of Pinterest, so I like having a big pinnable image so everything can go on Pinterest because that's really great long-term traffic. So for a quick demo on how to create a quick graphic, I will screen share if I can. Okay, I need to open that tab. Wait 1 second. Dragging it over. There we go. Okay, so here is Canva. This is what you see when you log in. Canva is free, so anybody can open up a Canva account. It takes 2 seconds to open up your account. There's no charge to have your account or to make designs. The only charge you would get is if you used an image that cost $1. So if you go into a template, I will go into, let's just make a new Google Plus cover. So if I go into the Google Plus cover, I could use my own image and that would be free. Or if I chose something that had these little hash marks on here, which you can see, that image would cost me $1. So, which is a great value. You have permission to use all the photos in here. If they're free or $1, you can use them wherever you want, and it's free, as I mentioned. So this Google Plus template is set up. The right side is your image, and then the left side shows you what it will look like when it's in Google Plus. I can search for a different green picture if I wanted to put. Let's make a little fall. Cover because it's getting to be autumn here.
Peg, this is Jen, and I have to say, I think what I really love about it, well, I love lots of things, but I love that there are all these templates. So you don't have to go and do a web search to find out the size of the image to do on your Google thing or one of those wide Pinterest pictures or whatever.
It's very helpful to have the sizes in, and I can show you. Okay, so there's my really quick little. That's just a quick one, but you can change all the text, all the fonts easily. You can just highlight it as I just did. You can pick any different font that you want, any different color that you want, and change it. It's really easy to download it. I'll just download it quick, and I'll go back and show you where you can see the sizes. That one's going to cost me $1. I can make changes on this image for 24 hours. And then I would have to repay for that image. But if you liked an image, you could make 10 really quickly with the same image, and that would only be $1. So that was how long it takes for it to create it in the cloud. I click on it, and I'm not sure if that's going to pull up for you. Can you see that? I have to check and see what you guys can you see that big image that I just did? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So now going back to I'm going to leave that page. Going back to Canva where you can see your templates, you can use it. A lot of people when they're new like to use the templates. You don't have to use the templates, but I find they're a great starter too. And if you put your mouse on it, it shows you the size. So this social media graphic is 800 pixels by 800 pixels, which is perfect for Instagram. Google Plus is very forgiving on all the different sizes. You can use different sizes, except for the covers. Facebook, we have 940 by 788, and that gives you the perfect size to fill the news feed without getting any little borders or anything. And again, there's tons of choices. It's really easy. You can change anything that you want in it. I mean, honestly, it couldn't be easier to get started with making your own great designs.
Peg, and I just wanted to say, so one of the things is you can pick one of these ready-made designs, but as we saw, you can put in another image behind, or you can change the font, so you can kind of use several bits together, but you're starting from, you have a starting point, basically, for those of us who are not designers. That's very helpful.
And you'll find as you use Canva more, that you'll need the templates less. They're great when you start out. They're great to get started with, how can I make things that look good? But it's, then you can just break off and do your own thing once you're more comfortable. You have an idea what the fonts look like once you make them live. One of the things that I love is when you save your Canva designs and load them onto social media sites, the fonts stay absolutely pristine. They don't get blurry, or they look very, very professional. I've used them with all different kinds of big brands that Guy and I have worked with, Monster Products and Audi, and events with Richard Branson and Virgin, and they ask us back all the time because they love working with us. And part of that's the success of, tweeting images and the great graphics that we create.
Yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. So we've got some great guests here on the program, Ali, James, Kelly, and Susanna. So, Ali Clifford, why don't you start us off with a question for either Guy or Peg about social sharing or Canva itself. And it looks like we may have lost you via camera, but we can hear you, so you can go on. Oh, I think Ali might be having a sound issue. Ali Clifford, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know what I look like. Can you see me?
We can't see you, but we can hear you, so go ahead.
Okay. So I had several questions actually, mostly to do with Google Plus. I wanted to ask really about, so I've set up pages in the past for brands that I work with, and maybe sort of 2 years ago it was quite easy to kind of get following and interaction, and now that seems to have died off. And when I'm setting up new pages now, brands in Google Plus, I'm not getting any followers, I'm not getting interaction. I just really wanted to know if there's anything you can suggest, and also is the brand still benefiting by me regularly posting to Google Plus even though there's no interaction?
Do you want me to answer that, Guy?
Yeah, I think she addressed it to you.
Okay, if she did. Okay, so Ali, I would say it's definitely beneficial to post to Google. One of the things, if you want to be found on Google in Google searches, Google Plus helps a ton with that. Your Google Plus posts will show up in Google searches. I'm interested. I'll go look at your pages after. Maybe you could put them in there. I don't know why your engagement would fall off. I've found that it's easier for brands now because at first people had to like your page before you could even engage with them, which was really, really hard to get people to circle you. Are you engaging in any communities as your brand, and are you using hashtags at all?
I'm using hashtags. I have to say, the people I work with, the various brands, have never really seen Google Plus as the place to go for social media. So it's always been focused on Facebook and Twitter, and I've always said, well, I'll do Google Plus as well. So anyway.
If you're creating great content for Facebook, you might as well put it on Google Plus too.
Yeah.
Are you using hashtags that connect with other people, or are they like brand specific?
Brand specific, but also I'll think, what are other people searching for? So I think I'm using them correctly, as in I'll think what's trending or what would people be searching for, in the same way you do in your own personal Instagram feeds.
Right. I'll be happy to look at them, Ali, and give you some suggestions if you want them from me.
Let me.
Could I just offer one thing on that? Sorry, just hopefully to help you, Ali, on that. One of the hardest things is actually finding people to get engagement with, and one of the best advices that I would give you especially if you're starting out with pages and trying to get the engagement back. And Peg alluded to it, which is engaging with others to get engagement back. One of the things which has come out recently, I don't know if you're using any third-party applications, but certainly have a look at applications like Circloscope, people who are engaging in posts. Again, Peg started talking about hashtags. Start looking at hashtags which are relevant to those brand pages, and possibly look at using platforms like Nodex to find people who are influencing discussion in those hashtags. And there's been a recent integration between Nodex and Circloscope, which means that anybody who's talking about certain hashtags which are important to you, you can pull it all into Circloscope and start looking at building circles around those influencers and
Okay, great. Good tip, James. I have a question I want to go to from one of the viewers. She's saying, this goes to you, Peg. She's saying, just having a play, when you save an image, is it yours forever? And that's from Anthea.
It is yours forever. It's yours. It stays in your account, so you can go back and edit it if you want. But it's yours to you. Any image that you put in that's your own, you always own. You create it. It's yours. You have permission to use it everywhere. So it's a great way to make sure that you're using legal photos and legal images on your post, so you don't need to worry about copyright laws, unless that's assuming that all the images that you put in you have permission to use.
Fantastic. Ali Hodge, let's go to you next and hear from you. First, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ali. Yeah, I've got a question for Guy. You said about posting several times over the day. How often do you go back to check on the engagement on those posts?
It depends. The answer there is because I travel so much that it really, I can't tell you that I'm sitting there checking every post. I use TweetDeck, and I have a one column that's open, and all that column does is look for @mentions of me. I frequently do go back to the posts on Google Plus and Facebook because those are where most of the the most intelligent comments are. And Twitter is the one where I repeat these tweets 4 times, not every site, right? And so with Twitter, there's no threading, there's no whatever. It's pretty hard to engage on Twitter for me. So if it's in TweetDeck and I'm on TweetDeck, I'll respond. But if not, many times it'll go unresponded.
Excellent. So, to your question, Ali?
Yes, that's very good. Thank you.
And that kind of changes when you have a lot of followers. If you're building your social platform, you really do want to respond to everything that you can. But at some point, it does get really hard. And when you're on a lot of different platforms, it's hard. I try to respond to all of mine, but it really does get hard when you have a certain level. But if you're posting your own blog content, you should always be checking for engagement and comments, especially then.
Excellent. James, let's go to you next.
Okay, I would like to ask a question to Guy and to Peg. I'm not sure one or other of you might want to answer this. One of the key things that I've found has really helped me in my Google Plus circle is having people in a notification circle, i.e. people that I am always interested in hearing from. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, for everybody out there who's either just starting or is keen to learn more, who are the people that you would recommend following? Maybe 3 of the people that you think put out really great content all the time.
Let me go look at who I have circled, and then I can tell you. Peg, you can answer first, and then I'll go do real research here and see who I've circled.
I will say Jeff C. Does the Manly Pinterest Tip Show. I love him. He's actually doing it right now as we speak. He's having Hangout. I will say Rebecca Radice, because she posts great content all the time. And let's see, who will I say for number 3? That's such a tough one. I'm going to give a wild card for a new person that people don't maybe not know yet, is my friend Jody Oken. and she is really great on social media and trying to get more involved in Google+. So, but she does great stuff. So I think the key is to finding people that you connect with that maybe you either want to learn from or talk to. But your circles can evolve over time, and I do the same thing. I have like I have a little circle that I keep small, and I check that all the time to make sure I always catch those people's posts.
And hopefully joining that list, BritMums.
Yeah.
So
Guy?
I will answer this question. I've been looking at who I look at, and so there's Richard Branson. He or whoever posts with him does a good job. One of my real favorites that almost everything they post I find interesting is Design Taxi. And a third one is Marquez Brownlee. I think Marquez Brownlee is the best and most interesting tech reviewer there is today. So Richard Branson, Marquez Brownlee, and Design Taxi.
Excellent. Great tips. Add those to your list. Kelly, up to you next.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I have a blog called domesticgoddess.com, and I also write for a UK blog called The Motherhood, which is a great blog. You should check it out. My question relates to, Peg, you mentioned earlier that it can sometimes be challenging to manage all the platforms that you're currently on. Obviously, my question is sort of related to that in the sense that I wanted to know if there is value in having a presence on every platform, or whether it would be better, particularly I think if you're starting out, or if you're someone like me. I wouldn't say I'm starting out, but I don't have a huge following. Whether you would be better focusing your energies on 2 or 3 platforms, and as a follow-on from that question, if so, which platforms?
I do think it's more important to stay and do 2 or 3 really well than try to do all of them really poorly. That's not, social media is my job, so part of my job is to make sure that I stay up on how to do all the different social media platforms. So I think I'm more involved in it than everybody needs to be. Like if I was just a casual user, or if I was just a blogger, not just a blogger, because boy, that's a full-time job, isn't it? So I'm not dismissing being a blogger, because I love blogging myself too. But I would pick 2 or 3 and do really well at them. If I was a blogger, I would definitely say Twitter, because I think Twitter is really great for bloggers for getting blog traffic. I would say Pinterest and Google+. Those are the ones that I would focus on. But that being said, a lot of people have really great Facebook presences, and if you have a really great Facebook presence, go with it. Facebook pages are really hard to build at this point, so going from scratch, it's hard for me to recommend that, because without paying for page promotion, it's really hard to build it up. But I think a personal profile on Google+, a Pinterest business account for a blogger, and Twitter, I think is great. But I also love Instagram a lot now too, so just throwing that out there.
Actually, just again, sort of related to the Pinterest question, and you mentioned hashtags. When I was at BritMums Live this year, I attended a talk by the people who are responsible for promoting Pinterest in the UK. One of the points they made was that Pinterest doesn't use hashtags. I mean, you can use...
Yeah, they don't. Pinterest does not like hashtags at all. I don't ever use hashtags on Pinterest. If you look in Pinterest help, it doesn't even discuss hashtags at all. It's like they have their own search that's built up to be a guided search and discovery, and you do not ever, they actually, I think, probably dislike it so much that it probably does worse if you put hashtags. But a lot of people haven't found that. They still do a lot of hashtags there, but they don't help you, and they don't do anything there. You can't click on them and find related content. So yeah, Pinterest, no hashtags.
Thank you.
I've got another quick question from one of the people watching. It's from Simone Costello, and she says, social media is very time-consuming. Any other suggestions aside from scheduling?
One of the best ways to do a good job at social media is to learn to be patient. So if you find content, just schedule. It is scheduling, but it's just being patient with your content. Instead of finding it and sharing it immediately, be okay with scheduling it the next day. So you don't have the pressure of having to find things all the time. When you build up a little repertoire, like I like to use Feedly, and I have little groups set up for different topics that maybe to share on LinkedIn or to share, to repin or things like that. So being organized and just setting a time limit for yourself so you don't end up being on there. And I'll share one of my friend Megan Schakowski's ideas, which is to have a little timer. And if you only have a certain amount of time, set your time for 30 minutes. And then when it goes off, you're done. Although I have to say I never do that on Pinterest, but
I'd like to add that the best time-saving expander ever for me was finding Peg Fitzpatrick.
Well, I don't know. I'm already taken, so aside from that, we'll share our tips.
Peg, we'll be in touch to get you to schedule all of our social media shares.
Okay, great.
Susanna, let's go to you next.
Hi, I'm Susanna. I'm along with Jen, co-founder of BritMums. It was nice to meet you guys at BlogHer this year. Sorry I roped you into, cornered you and Guy for a hangout, but thank you very much for doing it. I have a couple questions. And
I like your bookshelf.
I thought you'd like that. And I had a couple questions. One is just, gosh, Guy, how did you do it? You have gazillion followers. It's just amazing. And then one for Peg. When I met Melanie at BlogHer this year, she said she wanted to create the perfect app. So is Canva it?
So I'll answer first. How I did it, basically, I started in technology in about 1983. And
when technology was a baby.
Yeah, this is just after they invented electricity. And so, I've been in technology from 83 till 14, right? And so that's 31 years, my God. So in a sense, it's taken me 31 years to get 9 million followers. And it's because I just tried to constantly provide value and do favors for people. I wish I had a real secret for you. I mean, the reason why, for example, very tactical example, the reason why I have 6.5 million or however many million followers on Google Plus is because Google Plus liked what I post. And why did they like what I post? They like what I post because I was always trying to provide valuable content that passed the reshare test. So that's how I got to be a Google Plus, suggested user. And then when you do that, when you become a suggested user, then the clouds part and the angels start singing. So it wasn't because as I say, I'm Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian. It's because I post good stuff that positioned Google Plus well. So that's been my secret. And by the way, I'm sharing my desktop so you can see the people that I follow to see good content.
I also think consistency and hard work is, you consistently post all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's hard, and it is hard work. So there's just no shortcuts to building a big following. There's no legitimate shortcuts that are going to help you in the long run, I shall say. There are shortcuts, but those, aren't going to help you.
Yeah, I mean, you could buy followers, right?
It's not going to help you.
Well, but you could buy them.
You could, and there are people that do. So, Susanna, what was your question? Is Canva
the other question? Yeah. Melanie said it was she wanted to create the perfect app. So, is Canva it?
As far as web apps go, or I don't understand what your question is.
Canva. So, is Canva the perfect app?
It's perfect for me. I love it. So I use it all day. I used it all day before I worked with them, and for me it's indispensable because I can't use Photoshop, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. Either they can use Photoshop and this saves them some time. Like my friend Rebecca uses Photoshop, but she also uses Canva, and she'll use them together sometimes. So I think Melanie has created a really awesome thing based on an idea she had, and I think it helps a ton of people. And I think in a lot of ways that does make a perfect app. You know, when you can provide something that helps a lot of people be better at what they do, whether you're a blogger or a social media person or a PR person, or teachers love Canva. Teachers have really no budget for what they do in classrooms in the U.S. anyway. I'm sure it's probably similar around the world. And teachers just don't have money for things in their classroom, and teachers are using it to help their kids create creative presentations and great things for their classrooms. So I think in a lot of ways it is a perfect app.
So got another question from a viewer out there. Y'all mentioned a couple of these, but just to recap, what software or apps would you recommend for scheduling updates and posts? What are your faves?
We actually have a slide I can show you.
We love slides.
Yeah, I will add Friends Plus Me is one that isn't listed on it. That's one that I use to share my posts from Google Plus to Twitter. And I love it because it shares the image from Google Plus and it puts it on the tweet in a really nice way.
So I picked sharing my desktop with a particular app. So now I have to go switch that app.
And I will also add Sprout Social, and Feedly is what I love to use for finding really great content. And
Feedly?
Feedly, Feedly.
All right.
So that's what I use, and like.
And also Alltop. It's not an app, it's a website, but Alltop is a great place to find amazing content.
That's this.
Yes.
Great. So those are all ones that we can all jot down and make sure we have with us at all times. So another question from a viewer. This is Anthea again, actually. Is it better to use the same header image on all your social media accounts to promote specific seasonal blog posts, or does variety add more spice? Should you have the same picture so people always know it's you? Guy, like I noticed that you have your picture everywhere.
Yeah.
Is continuity key?
You know, there are two schools of thought here. One is that you keep it consistent. You know, you don't change the logo for every season. You know, it's not like Google Doodle, right? So my theory is I find a good cover photo or album photo. I find a good avatar. I stick with it. If I find one that's even better, I might switch once a year. But I want people to know that whether they see me on Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus or Pinterest or wherever it is, an email, I want them to see the same picture so that there's immediate recognition. That you're not wondering, you know, is it this Guy Kawasaki or another Guy Kawasaki? I mean, already Asians look all alike. I don't want to create any more.
Stop.
I have to say, I like to keep I always have the same avatar everywhere, but I cannot keep the same cover photo for a year. I would get so bored of looking at it myself. So I do change more frequently, but I do keep consistent with all my different social platforms. And it takes 2 seconds to make new ones in Canva, so that makes it even more, like I want to change them even more. Facebook pages, they recommend that you change the cover like once a month, just so you have so people don't get bored looking at your site. It's kind of like making a little web page, you know. So I think depends on where you are and if it's your personal account or brands, or if you know, it's good to keep it fresh every now and then. Or you can be 100% consistent like Guy and leave it for a year. But honestly, I'm kind of sick of Guys right now. I was thinking of redoing yours.
Well, you have admin access to all my accounts. You can I'll wake up one day and say, wow, I look a lot better today.
You'll be like, wow, my page looks good. What happened? Sure.
So one other quick question that actually someone posted before we started this was about Google Plus and finding it hard to get interactions compared with Twitter or Facebook, but I mean, in the blogging community in BritMums, we talk a lot about the importance of getting on Google Plus and getting familiar, really using it. What do y'all say to that? The people who feel like, I'm not having the kind of conversations, or I post something and nobody responds, or, you know, is it just about creating good circles? Is it, you know, you're on there now and time will tell?
Yeah. So the analogy I like to use is, let's say that, you know, Facebook is for people you already knew. So it was your relatives, your classmates, you know, your friends, everybody was there. And so that's Facebook. And then one day you go to a new party, and this party is called Google Plus. And you don't know anybody at the party, right? Because Google Plus was new and your friends aren't there. It's nobody from your school, et cetera, et cetera. So now, you know, at the end of the party, you can either say, wow, that was a boring party, nobody came up and engaged with me, or you can say, wow, this is a whole new party. I left all those idiots in my past off. I started all fresh and clean. Now I know what to do with social media. I found people that I really share the same passions, the same interests with. It's not the people I got drunk with 20 years ago. It's not the people I had sex with 20 years ago. These are all brand new people who share my passion for digital photography or adoption or knitting or whatever. And so this is a better party. Sometimes it's, you know, sometimes it's better to go to a new party. That's my theory.
I would say that the difference is, and you know, especially when people are new, sometimes they have a lot of Facebook experience. So if you're coming from Facebook to Google Plus, the difference is you do need to post on your own personal profile, but you have to go join the conversation off of your personal profile. You need to join communities. You need to join conversations. The hardest thing I had on Google Plus was like joining someone's comment thread that when they didn't know me, and I felt really uncomfortable with that. Like on Facebook, literally you like them and they're your friends. But on Google Plus, it's brand new, and I thought, well, I thought it was like rude to join a conversation. And Guy said, get over yourself. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll get over myself. So once I started going on to other people's posts and you know, plus mentioning them and having conversations, then people would come back and see what I had posted. But it took me a really, really long time to build a network, and it took me a long time to get people to figure out how to get people to read my blog. It was, you know, compared to Twitter, which was my biggest social network when I joined Google Plus, and now I have like 32,000 followers on Twitter, which is, you know, a good network. But it took, you know, and I have more on Google Plus now. I put a lot of time into Google Plus, into talking to people and meeting people, and I did that other places. You can't just post and expect people to find it, and you need to work a little bit on building the relationships for people to find your content. So get over yourself.
Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom.
Well, it's just hard. I think it's hard for people. I don't know if you guys felt like that, but it's just a different thing. Like, you know, you just are talking to someone. You don't like say, hi, my name is Peggy, but you know, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I kind of have to be just jump in and be fearless.
Yeah, it's scary at first, but when you do, you'll find that people on Google Plus love having conversations with people, whether they already know you or they're meeting you for the first time. If you engage in the conversation and talk about what they're talking about, people are always happy to talk to you. So that's one thing that's really awesome about Google Plus. It is the place to dive deep into conversations.
All right. Well, this has been an incredibly helpful hangout. Guy, Peg, any final words, or any final words from any of our other discussants?
Well, in the fine tradition of Steve Jobs, we do have one more thing to say. So we like to go for closure. You know, we believe in always be closing, or as opposed to always be canvaing. So Peg and I have written a book called The Art of Social Media. And we totally, absolutely promise it's the best book ever written about social media. Even though the cover designer at the publisher gave it only 4 stars, I have to figure out why. As you can see down here in the bottom left corner here. but we want to make this book available. It'll be out in December, and so we're offering all of you a free copy. And the way you get a free copy, there's always, there's no such thing as a free launch. The free copy, you register at Canva. In other words, you open up an account, and then you create something in Canva, and you send that design as an attachment to prove that you did it to promo@canva.com, and we will grab your email address, and in December, roughly the first week of December, we'll send you a promo code so that you can get this book from Kindle. You can get a Kindle copy of this book. So, there's no such thing as a free launch, but you don't have to pay for this one. This is something we just want you to have just that much more incentive to try Canva.
And if you already have an existing account, that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, great. Well, I want to thank you, Guy and Peg from Canva. Also, all the other influencers who joined us today. Allie Clifford from Kids Chaos, Allie Hodge from Bugbear and Bee, James Dearsley from the Digital Marketing Bureau, Kelly Innes from Domestic Goddess, and of course Susanna Scott, a Modern Mother and my BritMums co-founder, and from me, Jennifer Howes, Genography and BritMums. We've had a great time today. You'll be able to find this on our YouTube/BritMums TV channel. We'll be posting about it on the BritMums blog, and you'll find there highlights of some of these things, some URLs, things that people have mentioned. You can find them there. And once again, thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you to our Hangouters. And we will see you at the next Hangout. So be sure and follow everybody here on G+, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.